Hello. Welcome and click to watch. Subscribe my channel. If you like my channel, please make sure to subscribe, comment or leave a like in the video.
And the offered amount to Mary surprises him. With Tom asking why she didn't tell him about it, Mary finally reads the document, and she's astounded that $2 million is on the table. Tom notes that that's more money up front than all her books combined, but Mary doesn't want to discuss it yet. As they prepare for dinner, Tom advises her to seriously consider Kiki's offer. After putting the kids to sleep, Mary sweetly makes love with her husband. But when they finish, Tom confesses to losing half of their reserves after making a risky investment 6 months ago, leaving Mary deeply upset. When Mary first refused to talk about Kiki's offer, Tom's disappointment immediately hints that he's hiding something from his wife. His suggestion about considering taking the project also shows he sees them bickering. She immediately talks to them and introduces herself as Mary's friend. Mary hears their conversation, and she smiles as she listens to her kids' laughter. She then greets her children and tells them to go to their room, and when Mary sees the book Grace is holding, she tells the girl to follow her. In Mary's office, Grace gets surprised when she realizes that Mary is a writer after getting one of her books from the shelf. A little hesitant, Mary informs Grace that she still isn't sure if she needs someone full-time but asks her if she is available in the coming week. Mary says she needs a little help since she's writing a new book, and Grace is happy to accept her offer. Grace and Mary's rapport is intensified by their love for books, and maybe that is one of the reasons why Mary decided to give her a chance. Grace is like a younger version of her, and Mary must think that having her take care of the twins doesn't seem so bad. Grace and the kids quickly take a liking to each other. One day, Elaine's son and Mary's twins ask their moms if they could go for a swim, and Grace happily volunteers to take them. Mary offers to lend Grace a swimsuit, and when she notices that Grace is not comfortable with the one-piece, she gives the girl something to cover herself up with. By the pool, Elaine notes that the swimsuit Mary gave to Grace is too revealing. However, Mary insists she doesn't need to worry about Grace since the girl is a prude. When Mary sees Grace from inside the house trying on the clothes she gave her, Kiki then calls her attention, and Mary realizes she's daydreaming. Kiki and Darlene want Mary to turn the main character of her book, the mother, into a villain, but Mary doesn't think it's a good idea. As their meeting continues, Mary finds herself thinking about Grace, fantasizing about the girl being undressed. Mary's problems begin here when she starts having intrusive thoughts even at work. It's not even clear why the image of Grace's bare body keeps popping into Mary's mind, only that she can't stop thinking about the girl. Later on, Mary tells Elaine about her fantasy, and Elaine asks her if she's ever been attracted to a woman before. When Mary says no, Elaine says it could all just be in her head. Elaine then suggests that Mary could use her good relationship with Grace as an inspiration to write since she's experiencing writer's block, and Mary takes her friend's advice. Though her issues with Grace are new territory for her, Mary has no problem confiding in Elaine. The two must go way back, especially with how Mary's always listening to Elaine's counsel. When she gets home, Mary finds Tom and Grace talking to each other. Mary then kisses her husband and sits on his lap, and when the twins call her, Grace volunteers to see what they need. When Tom reminds Mary about their fundraiser dinner, Mary exclaims that she forgot about it and that she didn't even book a sitter. Overhearing their conversation, Grace offers to stay late, and the couple accepts. Grace is always so attentive to Mary's needs, and Mary only sees this as something that the girl is good at. Before Mary leaves for their dinner, Grace expresses her gratitude towards her for giving her a job. Flattered, Mary tells her nanny they're lucky to have her, reminding her that she's Grace that they should forget about it, but the girl doesn't even know what Mary is talking about. Mary then realizes that it was just a dream, and she's relieved that she's mistaken. After some time, Grace brings Mary some rose petals and milk for her bath. She then feeds Mary some honey before giving her a massage. As Grace's hands travel down her shoulders, Mary tells her to stop. However, Grace insists and says she just wants to make her happy. Defeated, Mary lets her, so Grace continues with the massage. Grace then puts her hand on Mary's private parts, enjoying as she watches Mary relish her touch. Just as she is about to climax, Mary opens her eyes and realizes she's daydreaming again. When she looks down, Mary is surprised to see that the tub is filled with petals. At this point, it's safe to say that Mary isn't sure what's real anymore. She thinks what happened in the bathroom was just a dream, but she proves herself wrong when she sees the petals in the tub. The thing is, Mary is actually enjoying her sensual moments with Grace, whether they're real or not. It's hard to say that she hasn't already made a mistake. Over the next few days, Mary focuses on completing her book. As Mary works, Grace and Tom grow closer. One day, Elaine gets suspicious when she catches them dropping off the kids at school. She tries calling Mary to talk about what she saw, but Mary won't answer her call. As Tom and Grace eat out, Tom notices that there's something different about her, but he can't quite point it out. Grace is acting completely carefree, smiling and joking every time Tom says something. When they drive home, Grace happily dances to the music, showing Tom a different side of her. With the sudden change in Grace's personality, it isn't a stretch to think that the red petals in Mary's tub come from the big red flag looming over Grace. Tom already notices it and even asks Grace about it, but he ignores this and thinks Grace is just having a good time. Grace, on the other hand, certainly looks like she's having the time of her life, but the way she speaks and moves suggests there's more to it than what Tom thinks. 3 weeks later, Mary and Grace ride their bicycles and drink some wine by the river. As Mary reads a book, Grace places her hand on Mary's leg and caresses it until the two of them start making out. Once again, Mary fails to pull herself away from Grace, and instead, falls deeper into the nanny's enchantments. Mary tells Grace that she sees so much of herself in her, and as their kiss deepens, Mary says they should stop. When Grace thinks she did something wrong, Mary assures her that she's perfect. Instead of acknowledging the mistake they just made, Mary makes Grace feel that what they're doing is normal. She's completely forgotten about her husband, and she doesn't even look guilty about it. They then decide to head home, but they're shocked to see that the bicycle's tire is slashed. Mary calls her husband for help, but when she can't reach him, the women walk home instead. There, Mary finds Tom and Elaine talking in hushed voices. Grace tells him where they went, and the smile on her face fades away when Tom kisses Mary. Elaine then pulls Mary aside, subtly warning her that Tom might be fooling around with Grace, but Mary defends her nanny and calls Elaine paranoid. Mary asks Elaine what she and Tom were talking about, but Elaine doesn't answer when she sees Grace approaching them. Elaine only says they should just talk about it next time, and she reminds Mary that she loves her before finally driving home.